card for you today, and this is what we call our bouncing brayer technique. It's kind of different, but it's really nice to use if you need a quick card that just has a bit of pizzazz to it. I'll show you what we'll be using. We have the bold thank you, and I'm going to be using the Noble dies, both the A and the B set of the double pierced rectangles. And that's the dies, and then we also will be using a couple of distressings. I've got the mustard seed, spiced marmalade, and I'm going to be using the Ranger medium-sized brayer. Now you can do bigger cards with larger brayers, and you can actually do this technique with a smaller or larger brayer too, depending on what size card you want, but we'll be using the medium. Okay. So to start this, what we're going to do is take a piece of gloss card. It's important that it is gloss card for this technique, okay? I'm going to ink up my brayer, and I'm going to start with the lighter color here, which is the mustard seed, and just give it a nice inking. So you're going to roll it across your distress ink and get all the edges of that brayer nice and inked. There we go. And we'll re-ink during the technique as well. So what you're going to do is just start to pick a center point in your card and just bounce it and turn your card. And then you can add in some little spots, okay? And then I'm going to go over to the spiced marmalade. And I'm just going to ink right over the yellow since it's got that same tone in it. If you want completely different colors, then you would need to clean your brayer in between. There we go. Just a little bounce on the card as you go. Let's give it a little more ink. There we go. So now I've got a really pretty center for my card. So here you have the basic brayered piece background. So what you want to do is clean off your brayer. I'm going to use a grind boss because you don't want to leave ink on your brayers. There we go. And you're going to want to dry this with a heat tool. Ink onto gloss card does take a little bit of time to dry. That's starting to look fairly dry, I think. Let's see, just do a little test with my finger. Don't think it's going to smear, so we're probably okay. But we'll set it aside for a few moments just to make sure. Okay, so I'll move on and I'll show you what I did with the frame. So next thing, bring in a piece of coconut white card. The dies I'm going to use are the double pierced rectangle set B. And I'm going to use the 4 largest dies for this, but I'll start putting them on one at a time. And just doing a little bit of taping into place. Now you can see I'm setting them up on my embossing mat, and that's what I want to do first, is do a bit of embossing before I do any of my cutting. Pop these down. Let me get that 4th one. Okay, so the way I like to set this up is to put the outer one taped by itself, the 2 inner ones here that are going to serve as just an embossed decoration. I'm going to pop a little tape on them. And then the inside one, which will later cut, I'm going to tape it separate. I find this is the easiest method. There we go. Okay, so we're going to run this through with our embossing sandwich first. Go. Now what I'm going to do is actually slide this over. Oop, oop, oop. Get my tape off of there. Onto there. Move that. And what we'll do is just remove the 2 inside dies because we only wanted them there for embossing purposes. So I'm going to just peel this tape away. Let's just pop that back over there. I should be able to lift these 2 up easily. Tiny bit of tape still on that one. There we go. Okay. Okay, so now just make sure they're still in place where they need to be, and then put your plate on top, and we'll run it through and cut it. You'll hear the cracking and popping as these go through. That is perfectly normal. Okay, well, that cut easily. So you can even use this for a later project, but we are using the frame portion of this, so I can set that aside. Okay. And clean this one off. Just take your tape, you can reuse this, so pop it onto your machine there. Okay, so the reason I did this like this particular method is because I wanted those lines to use as a guide. I'm going to be building up my frame, and I've already pre-cut these using the A set of the double pierced squares. Now the nice thing that you need to understand with these is even though they look very similar, they are different. Your A set is slightly larger than your B set. So what you will end up with is a cut line that ends and starts where this one leaves off. So they'll give you 1/8 inch increments for your borders. So it's beautiful to do like that. And now I've cut two here, a black and a white. I can layer those two up, and I can use these lines here as a guide to put them into place. So what I end up with is a nicely organized frame, and I've used a little bit of matting and layering in between to raise it, to give it some dimension, to really just kind of put some interest into the card. And you can see the double piercing all the way around on each of these layers. Okay, I'll pop that to the side. I'm going to bring this back in, and now we'll go back to our background, which should be good and dry by now. And I'll start to assemble this. Let's just see. I'll tell you what, I'll put my frame on first and make sure there's no necessary trimming. I've got some mounting foam on the back of this one. There we go. Pop that into place. So I've got just, looks like maybe a tiny bit of trimming to do. Ever so slightly up in the corner where I was off. We'll just nip underneath the edge of that frame. Holding your scissors at an angle helps you do that. Okay. Oh, right down here too, apologize. Don't want that showing. There we go. So now we can put this into the center of our matte layer. And I've got all sorts of nice piercing. And we're going to work towards our focal element now. So let's just tidy up a tiny bit. There we go. And I will bring in our thank you die. Now this die is unique in that it has a centerpiece that will cut out of your card but leave it intact. Then if you want to make it into a frame, you can use the two outer rings on the die. So what we're going to do is show you how to do that. So I'll bring in, let's move over to our junior plates here. There we go. Bring these in. So the first thing I want to do is create the thank you out of the white card. So I'm going to pop that down into place. And I'm going to use the larger of the two rectangles to go around it. Pop that into place, a little bit of tape, I'll use that. And we'll cut this. There we go. Check and make sure everything's cut, looks good. Pop it onto my embossing mat. Give it another run through. There's some beautiful embossing on this thank you die, so you definitely want to bring that out. Okay, and let's just use our tool-in-one. Take out the extra bits here. Peel off our tape and get underneath that. There we go. Okay. So you can see how nice that comes out. Isn't that gorgeous? So what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've cut a black one using the smaller of the outer cutting rings with it. And I'm just going to offset it ever so slightly so you get a really nice shadow. It just makes it pop a bit more, I think, okay? So the other thing I want to do is use both of these outer cutting rings to create a little frame for it. So I'm going to bring them back in, use them together, and just tape them into place here. Get them nice and centered with each other, like that. And get the cutting plate out. There we go. Okay. So I'll show you what you can do with this too. Now, the next step is totally optional if you want to add the extra frame. You can add it with some mounting foam, very thin pieces along the edge, or you can just use a fine glue to go on there, and it just gives a nice little border edge all the way around, a tone-on-tone white. Now I've gone ahead and I've done one where I've glued it all into place, and I've got a bit of mounting foam on the back, so it's ready to go, but you can see how nice that shadow looks. So let's bring our base piece back over, and we'll add the finishing touch to it. And I've just cut little thin strips of mounting foam to raise it up in the center of the card. Pop that right into the middle, about like that, and voila. How simple is that? And it does draw your eye in because you use that brayer from the center point out, so it acts like a starburst. I think that's really pretty. And any color you like would look absolutely stunning with this card too. I hope you've enjoyed the video today, and you'll look for us on our YouTube channel and visit my blog, www.partycraft.blogspot.com. Thanks.